Continued delays in bringing out illegal miners from underground in Stilfontein's Shaft 11 is causing grave concern among human rights activists who warn that the death toll could now rise. Since last month, 8 bodies have been recovered from the site, highlighting the dire situation. Government has announced that it needs 7.8 million rands to complete the retrieval operation at the Stilfontein Mine shaft. Now, for more on this, let's bring in our reporter, Tauriq Jenkins, who joins us live from Stilfontein. So, Tauriq, bring us up to speed with developments from where you are right now.
Thank you, Nklo. Good morning to you and the viewers. Thus far, nothing really happening behind us besides the visibility of the police. We understand that the community here in Stilfontein might be doing the cleansing ceremony today, as we saw them doing that last week or just weeks ago. You would know that they've been using a pulling system which really pulls one illegal miner from underground, and in some instances we've seen them pulling up even some of the deceased, hence the cleansing. But we've been hearing from the human rights defenders and even mining communities and organizations saying that this needs to be declared a humanitarian crisis. We are going to talk to Tauriq Jenkins, who's the human rights defender. Thank you so much for your time. You are adamant that this is a humanitarian crisis, and if you may just enlighten us, why do you say so?
This is a humanitarian crisis because right now we are at Shaft 11, and at this site underneath the ground we have an estimate of about between 800 to 1,000 miners that are trapped. There's a situation of mass starvation that is undergoing, and what is required is an immediate alleviation of the issues of food, of sustenance, of critical medicines including ARVs, and a joint operation that will catalyze the rescue of these miners.
For the past 3 days.
Yes, what had happened is on Friday, when the community members came onto the site, there was another clearing operation that was happening by the provincial department, apparently this is to clear the way for some machines to come on, but there's been no communication with the community. One of the consequences of that operation was that some key infrastructural aspects on the site that assist and allow the community to deploy the police system have been destroyed and dislocated. So this then causes another delay in terms of what are the kinds of alternatives, or at least fixing that issue to ensure that the police system can then operate in the meantime until some kind of operation happens. At the moment, there's been no clear formal communication that such an operation is happening, and this is hugely concerning in terms of what has been an understanding for several weeks that an intervention will be made immediately.
Yeah. You also, alluded or even raised concern about the delay as far as the government's operation, the retrieval operation. We spoke to the MEC of Community Safety, who did indicate that they need approximately 7.8 million rand to start phase 2 of this operation. Just your reaction to this?
In the court papers, we recall that there was a figure of about 11 million. So if 7 million has been raised, it means that one would then have to check and see if the other 4 million has been raised. I think one of the problems that we're sitting here is the fact that there is an emergency crisis in as far as food is concerned. To what extent, while they are raising these funds, have there been any assistance in terms of assisting the community in their day-to-day activities of rescuing the trapped miners, in terms of the rope that they use, any kind of infrastructural assistance, but in particular the food that needs to go down. And so in the absence of any kind of associative direct or indirect assistance, this kind of messaging really gives us a sense that there is a lack of will in terms of really ensuring that this situation is resolved, the miners are retrieved, and that we really do the best that we can to stop what is an impending humanitarian disaster.
You keep on saying these illegal miners are trapped. evidence indicates that some were able to emerge from Margaret Shaft, others from Shaft 10. Of course, others have been pulled out. No exit point, according to the police, is closed down, trapping them underground. Why do you keep referring to the word trapped, as we have seen some of them really being able to emerge independently?
Right now at Shaft 11, we have a situation where there are about 800 to 1,000 people that are trapped in the shaft. It's got a 2-kilometer drop. The infrastructure of the shaft basically disallows any miner to emerge without either the pulley system by rope that the community has been engaging in, or a more sophisticated engineering alternative of a crane with a cage that will be submerged down the hole. I think what's unfortunate is that there's been a conflation in terms of the fact that there are 3 different shafts. The Margaret Shaft is part of a completely separate mine. It is not connected to Shaft 10. Shaft 11 is really the shaft where people are entirely trapped. I think what people are not also sort of talking about is that traveling between shafts, for example, between Shaft 11 and 10, entails almost a 3-day underground trek through a labyrinth system, to then also spend another 3 days, individually, manually having to climb slowly up the shaft, and even having to sleep suspended and so on. So that particular shaft is absolutely hazardous. The mortality rate in terms of miners dropping to their deaths is in terms of the reports that have been back and our understanding of that shaft is extreme, which is why it is here at Shaft 11 where there is a huge number of people that are trapped. It's completely undisputed that they are trapped beneath the ground, and there's no other way for these miners to come out unless they are assisted either by the pulley system, which is a very slow system where 1 or 2 miners per day can be taken out, or through the implementation of what is required, a more determined a system that could allow more miners to come up to the surface.
Yeah, just one last question. Have you been able to talk to those that are already on the surface who have emerged, who allegedly were given the letters from underground? These letters, really, some of the illegal miners allegedly making requests of, food, and also alleging that there is cannibalism happening underground because there's no food. Some have resorted to human flesh. Have you been able to talk to some of these miners? Because the police at this point are investigating the origin of this letter as to whether they are indeed from underground, and they have refuted claims that there is cannibalism happening underground because the bodies that have emerged do not show any sign of that.
This particular operation, in terms of Vulam Godi, has been going on since November last year. It has kind of taken on a more stringent approach since August. So everybody knows that there was restrictions in terms of how miners could exit and enter the shafts, but more so the extent to which food and supplies were completely restricted. And so over months, we've seen a gradual depletion of those reserves under the ground, which clearly has exacerbated the current reality.
Let's just talk to the letters.
Yeah, and I think speaking to the letters is that, when 8 dead bodies are retrieved, and by no stretch of imagination, you can literally see that the reason why these bodies are deceased is because there's been a complete lack of a humanitarian response to the crisis. You would see the footage that emerged yesterday of how emaciated the miners are, skin to the bone. The consistency of these letters have been correct in the sense that over time, the letters have spoken about starvation. The letters have indicated that people want to come out, and there's and I think the miners are well attenuated to the fact that as they come out, they will be arrested because of, of various, underlining aspects in terms of the legalities that are taking place underground.
Yeah. So the letters might speak to what is believed to be facts underground, but we are not certain as to whether they are, because we have not been able to speak to the miners. Is that what you're saying?
No, the miners have spoken. The miners have given many testimonies, both to the media as well as to legal resources, the Lawyers for Human Rights. One of the issues that I think are being encountered on the ground is the fact that many of the miners are being restricted from their legal representatives, including key persons who have been instrumental in the writing of the affidavits through these letters. And so I think one of the important things is to ensure that the miners, as they come out, are duly represented by Lawyers for Human Rights, and those testimonies are taken in. We see almost a kind of a situation where some testimonies are being released for public consumption, where others haven't. What I think remains completely understood is that there is mass starvation happening, and these are consistent in terms of all the reports, consistent with the letters, consistent with what people are saying, and also what we are seeing. And therefore, everything must be done to ensure that food enters into the staff, enters into the shafts with medication, and that we do everything we possibly can to get going this rescue operation.
We know that Makua is now sending their prayers to the Constitutional Court, or rather asking for their attention. Just tell us about that.
Yes, this is a constitutional matter that talks to the very bedrock of our democracy, in that when it comes to the right of life and the state's duty in terms of preserving the right of life, this is what we're talking about. I think it also speaks to the extent to which, how the narrative of criminality and the narrative of xenophobia has in some ways been used to buffer the constitutional and legislative duty of various state entities in terms of, this particular crisis, including,
How, if you may just tell us how, because I think what has been at the front was that this is illicit mining. The miners underground, illegal miners, are aware that this is crime. How then do you think that isolate that to being xenophobic, among other allegations that you are now bringing?
This is a human rights situation, irrespective of your nationality, your race, your creed, and your legal status. If you are starving underground, and the reason for the starvation is also because of a particular kind of methodology that has been deployed by certain state entities that has created the set of circumstances, there is a level of responsibility. I think it's very important for us to take a look at what this volunteer community has done. They have really been a true inspiration, I think, for not just in terms of how we look at human rights, but in spite of these various, very problematic and difficult issues of criminality, of, foreign nationals that are coming in, and we know that, these tropes have, they have particular kind of repercussions in the narrative. This community has daily come with limited resources and have saved lives and are continuing to save lives. The expression that they say is that when that rope goes down the shaft, the rope doesn't understand color, the rope doesn't understand creed, the rope is not concerned about where you're from, but are concerned about the fact that you want to live. And I think this is something that needs to be fully supported. What the community is doing here is, I think, exercising at an apex level, the spirit of good citizenry.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Tauriq Jenkins, the human rights defender. Of course, he is with the mining community organization, that is Makua, as they are raising concerns about the delay of the government's operation to retrieve illegal miners underground. They are saying that they this specific shaft behind us, that is shaft 11, is the specific shaft that really is quite a concern. Other illegal miners might be emerging from either Margaret Shaft or shaft 10, but really the pooling system that is used here by community members, they are at this point still asking for government to assist, still asking that food be provided to miners underground, and as he is saying that they are now intending to approach the Constitutional Court to ensure that the Bill of Rights, are upheld as far as government exercising their obligations, enshrined in the Constitution. Of course, quite a complex story, different aspects, different, stakeholders that we still need to talk to. But for now, back to you in studio.
That's our very own Tauriq Jenkins watching that story for us, as well as asking some of those hard questions there on the ground. Thanks very much indeed, Tauriq, for that update.